Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Kulbhushan Chandel from Himachal Pradesh University Shimla. Today we are going to talk on module Organization Development and Action Research from paper Organizational Change and Development. We will be learning from this module the action research. We will be discussing action research as suggested by various behavioral scientists in detail. We will be understanding action research as a process and problem solving approach. We will be studying the main problems faced by an action researcher. We will be understanding the role of an action researcher. Action research is aimed at meeting the dual goals of making action more effective, building a body of scientific knowledge around that action. Action in this regard deals with programs and interventions designed to solve problems and improve conditions. As per Kurt Lewin, skilled and motivated social scientists, by having an interest in eradicating the problems of society, proposed action research as a new methodology for behavioral science. Lewin believed that action research on a particular program, especially social change programs, were imperative when progress were to be made in solving social problems. Action research tackles several needs simultaneously by pressing the needs for greater knowledge about the causes and dynamics of social evils, the need of understanding the laws of social change, the need for greater collaboration and joint inquiry between scientists and practitioners are undertaken in action research. Action research is considered as the cornerstone of organization development, underlying both theory and practice of the field. Action research is studied through two perspectives. One, action research as a process, and second, action research as a problem solving approach. Action research is the comprehensive tool to solve problems and has very wide application to identify problem areas and seek solution through data collection and its interpretation against a set standard. It is the application of the scientific method of fact-finding and experimentation to practical problems requiring action solution and involving the collaboration and cooperation of the scientists, practitioners, and laymen. Action research can be of many types: basic and pure research. It is carried out to generate the body of knowledge about some phenomena of interest to the researcher. Then it is applied and action research. It is carried out to find out the solution to a specific problem relating to the organization. Action research as a process and problem solving approach, when we are considering action research as a process, it means it is an ongoing series of events and actions. Action research may be defined as the process of systematically collecting research data about an ongoing system relative to some objectives, goals, or needs of that system, feeding these data back into the system, taking actions by altering selected variables within the system based both on the data and on the hypothesis, and evaluating the results by actions by collecting more data. Shepard concept of action research. Action research is the application of the scientific method of fact finding and experimentation to practical problems requiring action, solutions, and involving the collaboration and cooperation of scientists, practitioners, and laypersons. We can explain it with the help of a model which was given by French, Bell, and Vora, in organizational development, which is itself the source, that is the Pearson Education 6th edition 2013 at page 19, wherein they have started right from objectives, then it is planning, then we are taking action step 1, which is fact finding, then we are itself taking this action step 2, then again it is planning, and then when we are just talking about planning and action step 2, and through those fact findings and planning we are achieving our objectives. Shepard highlights the relation among objectives, planning, and action in his diagram. In action research approach, the role of consultant change agent takes a special form. The role is to help the manager plan his actions and design his fact-finding procedures like a way that the manager can learn from them to serve such ends as becoming a more skillful manager. Various features are viewed with regard to as approaches to problem solving can be normative nature of this model, then the centrality of the objectives, different role requirements of consultant and client relationships, and then 3 additional features. They can be described as the elements of action research model that links it to the scientific method of inquiry, then collaborative relation among scientists, practitioners, and laypersons that often is a component of action research, and finally the increased richness of knowledge derived from action research programs. Action research given by behavioral scientists. Action research was originally conceptualized by Kurt Lewin in 1948, and it was later elaborated by various behavioral scientists. French and Bell in 2001 defined organizational development as an improvement of organization through action research. The following is the action research model as given by Sussman and Award in 1978. He itself focused on data gathering, and then he said that the analysis and interpretation, then the action planning, action taking, and evaluating, all these comes in the action research model. Action research is the process to be performed in 2 ways as suggested by French and Bell. First, it is a sequence of activities within each cycle from data gathering to evaluating. Second, it is cycle of interaction which starts over and over again with data collection and after evaluation of the consequences of the action taken. The different phases as given in the above model can be explained in detail as under. Data gathering. After a preliminary understanding of the problem, one has to find the causes, symptoms, and outcomes of the problem. Thus, the data collection is crucial for discovering the implicit and explicit factors of the problem. The action researcher adopts what the problem was and detailed in-depth study of the problem. Data gathering helps in the identification and definition of the problem. The joint task force, which comprises of both organizational members and consultant, collect the data for understanding the structure of the problem. Then it comes analysis and interpretation. Data is of no meaning until it is analyzed and interpreted. The analysis phase comprises of the data gathering and its interpretation so that it becomes meaningful. The proper analysis of the data helps in the action to be taken so that the change can be made and organization could be improved. Then the action planning. This is one of the most important and critical phase of the action research process. Various alternative course of actions are available and their potential impact are analyzed and assessed. On deciding the course of actions, the actual steps of the implementations are taken, then actions are initiated into the client system. Joint task force also provide suggestions for solving various problems like setting up of web portal, appointing of an officer, and so on. On the approval of these recommendations from the top management, the implementation of the proposed plan is made. Action taking. The action taking is the intervention stage in which the actual response to the problem is made. The main role of the action research is the anticipation of the unforeseen consequences of the action taken and planning for which consequences. Evaluating. This is the reflection and revision phase which comprises of the evaluation of the impact of the interventions. The evaluation helps in ensuring that changes and results achieved are congruent to the expected results. There is any discrepancy, then a new problem emerges and this needs an entire cycle starting from data gathering. Then it is learning. Learning lies at the heart of the cycle as every step is the creation of knowledge and new information to all organizational members and consultants. Each phase in the process leads to learning. Action research typology. Action research is a holistic approach to problem solving in the organizational as well as social context. Thus, it allows the researchers to use different approaches in rectifying the problem. The following are the approaches as adopted from Chain, Cook, and Hardings. It starts right from diagnostics, which provide for the diagnosis and choice of interventions by the researcher. There is a very little or no involvement of the client in this type of research. Then it is participants. Both the client and consultants have necessary competence and commitment in this type of research. They collaborate on all aspects and the process in this type of research is more complicated and complex. This type of research is also time consuming. Then it is empirical. This type of research is based on systematic observation of earlier interventions and their impact is also derived. This method relies more on different experiences. Then finally it is experimental. In this type of research, learning by doing is done under controlled conditions in the client system. It is done to identify the most suitable intervention. This method can subordinate the action to research. The action researcher can use any of the above method in their research depending upon their discretion and experience. The consultant can also switch from one type to another as per the requirements. Let me discuss now the role of action researcher. The role of action researcher depends upon the settings depending upon client situation and the expertise needed. The action researchers perform the following functions. 1. Problem definition. As the process of action research starts with the problem identification, the problem needs to be properly defined and conceptualized. Then it comes the study design. The action researcher has expertise in the organizational systems, processes, and research tools. Thus, the study and research design for data collection is developed by the action researchers. The action researcher has proper knowledge with this regard. Data collection. The data collection is a combined effort of the consultant and organizational members in deciding the appropriate intervention to be effected. When the survey is to be done, then the client system can administer it. Then it comes interpretation. Interpretation of the data should be done by the action researcher as an expert in the applied behavioral science. The interpretation is the combined effort of the action researcher in critically examining the findings of the data and analyze its consequences in devising the action plan in rectifying the situation. Then it is intervention strategy and execution. The intervention in the client system is also a planned and executive effort of the consultant and client. The involvement of the client varies from setting and problem. The client must be involved in the intervention planning and designing, as it would promote the ownership and commitment among the organizational members. Problems faced by action researchers. There are various problems which are faced by the action researchers, as there is no standard solution that could be offered to consultants in handling these problems. Some of these problems are the extent of involvement. The extent of involvement of the action researcher depends upon the situation to situation. The involvement of the external help in the client system can make the client handicapped, and at the same time there is potential danger of becoming over-dependent upon the action researcher. It is important to maintain a balance between the client's involvements. Then the problems faced by the action researchers: problem solving versus learning. The action research starts with the problem and ends with the solution to that problem. As each problem is unique, so there is generalization of the solution. Generalization is mainly possible through the internal involvement and from the experience of the client system. Each problem must be solved in such a manner that it contributes in learning of the client system. Then it comes values. Values could be defined as the beliefs that certain acts are preferable to another. Values can be conflict between the client and the consultant, like consultant might be providing solution for long term, but the client might be interested in short term solution. Thus, the consultant must explore the values and implications with the client's system before initiation of the process. Following process of action research could be followed. 1. Preliminary data collection. Then it comes to the analysis of collected data, gathering alternatives to solve the problems, and then deciding a suitable course of actions, and finally assessing the results and planning follow-up steps. Let me just explain in brief all. Preliminary data collection. For preliminary data collection, consultant made joint tasks comprised of 2 senior purchase managers, 2 senior production managers along with the consultants. They firstly identified the information needs and analysis the data for presenting to the top management. All members work in a collaboration with each other. Analysis of the collected data. After data collection, the consultant and members held meetings and analyzed the data collected to make it meaningful. The data collected revealed that there was increase in the equipment breakdown due to lack of coordination between purchase and production department. There was backlog of non-standardized items due to inaccurate planning and incomplete information. There was lack of coordination among these two departments by lack of cooperation, communication, and collaboration. Then third is the generating alternative to solve the problem. At the next level meeting, the task force presented their findings to the top management for devising alternative in solving identified problems. The task force can propose a plan with various alternatives which examine their consequences and propose an action plan containing full details with regard to how to do, when and who should do it. The next is deciding suitable course of action. The expanded task force make plan of action and present it to the top management. The top management, by accepting the proposed proposals, could go with the implementation of the action plan. The task force can outline the entire change plan step by step and can clearly allocate the responsibility to various jobs to the members. And finally, assessing results and planning follow-up steps. The joint task force evaluate the results to ascertain the actual changes as per the design. This could help in decreasing in inventory level, decline in number of complaints, enhancing the feeling of involvement among the employees, and smooth functioning of the departments. Let us summarize what we have learned in this module. Action research is the bedrock of the organizational development. It is related to theory and practice in the field of organization development. Action research relates to identification of problem, collecting data, applying the data to the problem, and evaluating the results. It attempts to meet the dual goals of making action more effective and building a body of scientific knowledge around that action. Action in this context refers to the programs and interventions designed to solve problems and improve conditions. Action research is very common phenomena in various fields of life. It relates to identification of problems, collecting data, and thus solving the problems. Action research is aimed at meeting the dual goals of making action more effective, building a body of scientific knowledge around that action. Action in this regard deals with programs and interventions designed to solve problems and improve conditions. As per Kurt Lewin, skilled and motivated social scientists, by having an interest in eradicating the problem of society, proposed action research as a new methodology for behavioral sciences. Lewin believed that research on action programs, especially social change programs, were imperative when the progress were to be made in solving social problems. Action research tackles several needs simultaneously by pressing the need for greater knowledge about the cause and dynamics of social evils, the need of understanding the laws of social change, the need for greater collaboration and joint inquiry between scientists and practitioners are undertaken in action research. Action research is the process to be performed in two ways as suggested by French and Well. First, It is a sequence of activities within each cycle from data gathering to evaluating. Second, it is cycle of iterations which start over and over again with data collection after evaluation of the consequences of the action taken. Thank you.